Welcome, everyone. Here we are with the Sports Writers. We are talking on Tuesday, January 30th, 2024. And we survived a big storm from last weekend. And here we are getting ready for winter sports here on this Tuesday night. And Phil Stacey is here with us. Matt Williams from the Salem News. Nick Giannino from the Gloucester Times, their sports editor, is here with us as well. But let's begin with girls basketball as we try to mix it up from week to week. And looking at tonight's schedule, there's a couple of interesting games. In particular, Matt, the Beverly girls are playing host to Masconomet. I saw Masco top Peabody, maybe a week or two ago now. And of course, Beverly girls are doing very well as well. So let's get your take on some girls basketball.
Well, here we are. Beverly has broken into the top 32 in the power rankings, which means almost certainly a home game if they can keep it going. The Panthers are 9-3. A win would put them in the tournament, regardless of their power seed, and also give them the opportunity to win potentially a Northeastern Conference title. Now, Masco is the one team that controls its own destiny in the conference. The Chieftains have one loss in the league. If they win the rest of their league games, no one can catch them. Peabody, of course, 2 losses, is rooting for Beverly tonight. Beverly, 3 losses. The opening night loss to Marblehead, really a landmine in their quest to win the NEC. But certainly if they can knock off Masconomet and then hope that somebody else helps them out down the line, that's what you got to do if you're Beverly. But, to this stage, the Panthers have won all but one of their home games. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row here at home. The only home loss that first day of the season there against Marblehead. So looking to defend the Lodge tonight against Masco. It's a good game and a solid game and nice to see. I mean, they played pretty good defense against Peabody, got out to a really big lead. I think Beverly's a team with the youth that they have that if they lead the game early, that can help them. Certainly went cold from the fourth quarter, but we're able to get enough defensive stops to hold on. Of course, we should mention Allie Betancourt was injured, didn't play in the game for Peabody, so that probably makes a little bit of a difference there for them. They're still hanging around in the top 20 of the Division I power rankings, which is good for them. I mean, I sort of expected them to fall a little bit more with some of the losses that they've had. So hopefully they can get healthy and get going. But, as we touched on last week, Masco, a team that is sort of laying in the weeds, not done so hot out of conference, but really taking business in conference. And, their progress from December until here, almost February 1st, under their first-year head coach, Jalen Aho, has been remarkable. They do a really good job on the boards. And so that's really going to be the battle tonight. Beverly's got some really good big players on the boards. Lauren Callie and Jules Stevenson can get some rebounds, even though she scores. So we'll see who wins the battle on the boards in this one.
Interesting that Stevenson is the point guard, but she can also rebound Willie too. She's a scoring point guard, but she can hit the boards pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of her size and just the wave of the positionless basketball, right? I mean, it's sort of everybody does a little bit of everything. She's got the ball in her hands because she's such a good protector, runner, bringing the ball up the floor and things like that. But certainly is not hamstrung as just a guard who's looking to pass. Sort of those positional handcuffs of yesteryear. It's nice to see that sort of off for the most part with some of our great players across the board. I know certainly that's the case for, the Salem boys, traditional guards, the Peabody boys. I mean, really, across the board, you're seeing boys and girls with tremendous skill sets that don't necessarily fit into a box. And that makes it really fun to watch, I think.
And just getting back to the start of what you were saying there, when I went to practice last week and talked to some of the Beverly girls, one of the captains, Mia Bellotti, I asked her what it would be like to play a home playoff game. And she was almost at a loss for words. I mean, she came into the program as a freshman during the COVID year, obviously no playoffs, the last 2 seasons. So she's like, just get into the playoffs would be great, but to get a home playoff game. And she talked about how they've never really had like the fan squad there that shows up to a lot of the sports events in Beverly's, as they do at a lot of schools, the student section. Um, they've never really had that like huge crowd cheering them on. So she was saying to get a home playoff game, which in this case would certainly be a play-in game, if they were ranked
Right.
32 or whatnot. But to have a home playoff game as a senior and have that fan squad there cheering them on would be I don't want to say beyond their wildest dreams, but would be something remarkable that would really be a highlight of their season.
Yeah, tremendous, and I think for the girls, like especially because you don't have football, like basketball sometimes is your best opportunity to get a great crowd because and especially at home, right? And we talk about this with Beverly, but like you're not going to get a great crowd or a lot of noise at Frank Ford Field because there's no bleachers, right? There's no of them to sit, so you can't really create that atmosphere for a soccer game or a field hockey game the way you can at like say Deering Stadium in Danvers. And then,
Right.
we all know that the fan support at the spring games isn't quite the same. So, to pack the gym for a tournament basketball game, I mean, a lot of times that is like the best atmosphere that you're going to get at a school sporting event. So obviously, I guess it's a challenge to the fan squad, right, to come up with a good theme for the girls and show them, that you appreciate all their efforts, right? I don't know what they've used up already for the boys. Maybe they can come up with something good, a ski theme they've used, USA. The people that run the fan squads are more creative than me when it comes to this stuff, but they got to come up with something good, maybe like a neon, to match like the sneakers or something like that.
Well, I think when I was over there for the boys game recently, I noticed a lot of the hockey and football boys, stirring things up. Ethan Height and his crew of guys over there. So they should get something going for the girls and something like that. But speaking of fan squads, Nick, that's probably a good segue into the event you saw on Saturday. It seemed like there was a great crowd down in Gloucester for the wrestling championships.
Yeah, they opened up the field house there, and they had 3 mats down, both sides, bleachers on both sides of the gymnasium, and it was packed, like Phil said. Obviously 10 schools there for the Cal NEC Wrestling Championships, and yeah, pretty great event, I thought. This was the Gloucester's first time since 2020 hosting it. They hosted it one other time in 2020, and yeah, it was. I think they started at 9 a.m. It got over about 4 o'clock, which wasn't too bad considering they had one issue with the bracket online that they were able to fix, but it took them about an hour, so they had to take about an hour pause with the wrestling in the middle of the day. But anyway, yeah, great event. Beverly ended up coming out on top, so more Panthers talk here, but they were very impressive. 3 victories for them, and Gloucester finished second. These 2 teams had a really tight dual meet earlier in the season, and it I don't want to say everyone thought, but those 2 teams probably thought it was theirs. One of those teams was going to win it, and Beverly was able to edge them out. But Gloucester did have more individual champs. They had 4 to Beverly's 3, I believe, and we got stripped of the rematch between Gino Sakari and Michael Toppin at 195 pounds on Saturday. Sakari made it to the semifinals. He was able to power through an injury that he suffered in that semifinals, and he wasn't able to go for the final match. 2 of the top wrestlers in the state, so I know a lot of people were looking forward to that one, but he was unable to go. Michael Toppin advanced through his couple bouts as well, got to the finals, and then won via forfeit. So that was disappointing. We didn't get to see that, but still a great day for Gino, great day for Michael Toppin, great day for Jaden Toppin of Gloucester, who was named outstanding wrestler for the upper division. He was pretty dominant once again, and like I said, Gloucester had 3 others win their weight class as well. I'd have to look back. I know it was Joe Allen had a big day for himself in one of the lower classes. He had broken his ankle in football season and just returned about a month ago. So for him to pull through in some really competitive matches and have the conditioning after not being able to walk or run right on that broken ankle for a while. I mean, he's had limited time to get conditioned. So I thought that was really impressive for him to come out on top. And you're going to have to bear with me. I'll look and I'll get the other winners here. Stories were in both the Salem News and the Gloucester Times. I wrote one up for our version, for Gloucester heavy, and obviously Beverly winning it. That was big for the Salem News coverage area, so we tweaked it a little bit for that. But let's see here.
I want to say Miles Darling won the outstanding wrestler for the lower divisions, right, out of Masco.
He did, yep. Masco, Darling, they're excellent. How many Darling boys now have gone through that program? Is that 2 or 3?
I think he's the second, but there are more coming, and there's a daughter, or there's a sister, I should say, in there too.
Yep.
Yeah, they're a great wrestling family.
Joe Baker, he was another big story. He transferred over to Beverly this year from Danvers and really gave them a boost. He was another winner. For Gloucester, there's Joe Allen. Check out the story online because there's a lot of info in there, a lot of different names, a lot of quotes. Jaden
While you're looking at that, Nick, I want to mention while we're talking about wrestling,
yeah,
if you don't mind, I did
no,
notice.
yeah, go ahead. Aiden DeCoste, sorry, Aiden DeCoste was another winner for Gloucester, 120. And go ahead.
I did notice this past weekend was the end of the career for Luke Connolly of Bishop Fenwick. Obviously, Fenwick is not eligible to participate in any state playoffs, whether it's team or individual, whatnot, because of the season-long ban by the MIAA. And Luke, as people might know, is one of the state's best wrestlers at his weight class, really in any weight class. So that's it for him. He can't wrestle in, divisionals, sectionals, all states, even New England's. I think there was some thought that he might be able to wrestle at New England's, but that is no more. So a little bit of sadness, I'm sure, for Luke and his family, but he had a great senior year. I know he went 34-2, 19-0 in dual meets. He had I think all 19 of those wins in dual meets were first period pins. Just he had a great career, and I know he was looking on to being able to at least do something postseason wise this year, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, just wanted to recognize Luke for having a really good season and career on the mat.
Yeah, so that other, that other Gloucester wrestler to win was Aiden DeCoste. He had a great day, and then for Beverly, Braden McNeil, what a performance for him. He pinned all his opponents. I think he was on the mat a total of 1.5 minutes throughout the day, so barely broke a sweat. Really impressive stuff for him from Beverly, and he beat a Gloucester kid, Evan Mion, in the finals there. So yeah, all around a great day. I enjoyed it over there. It was a good take. Gloucester did a great job hosting and some really good competition. So even the teams that didn't perform so well as a team had some great individual performances, which was good to see.
And I do believe as, we work through, February is obviously a big month for wrestling and for track and field and for swimming as they start to have their championships. I believe the all states for wrestling are at Salem High School at the end of February. I want to say the 23rd and 24th.
Okay.
All right, let's toss a coin up here, and it lands girls hockey. Girls hockey. So
Yep.
I'm just going to look at Matt Williams here to see if he can lead us off with any discussion here on girls hockey. The PBD team continues to win, but they have a big game coming up on Wednesday night, right, Matt? They're at Winthrop, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Off the board.
What's that?
Postponed. There's some illness in Winthrop, so they've kindly allowed them to reschedule.
Okay.
That's nice. So yeah, kind of status is quo with the girls hockey. Not a lot has changed in the last week or two. Beverly had a little bit of an upset there, losing to Shawsheen on Wednesday, so that's affected their ranking a little bit. Gloucester has busted into the top 10 in Division 2, so got to hand it to them. They had a game over the weekend where 2 different kids had hat tricks, so that's a pretty rare occurrence there. That was a nice win for the Fishermen. So they've cracked into the top 10. you got to wonder a little bit, like just how far maybe they can go in the tournament. I don't think people are necessarily really talking about them, but when you get into that top 10, like you're talking being there at the end, right? As we've seen with the rankings in a lot of these sports. So,
Although it's
Beverly,
important to notice that to note, I should say that for the first time this year, Willie, and hockey is the first sport to do this. The quarterfinals will not be home games for the state tournament. So you get the round of 32 game, the round of 16 game if you're still in that if you're still playing, but the quarterfinals will now be at neutral sites. And I think obviously Talbot Rink is a huge advantage for both the boys and girls teams. Great atmosphere. Um, it's unique to many rinks. It's not a cookie cutter type place. So it is important to know that like if Gloucester were to move on to a third round game, it would be a neutral site.
yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the size of the rink, right? Or is that I don't know that that's like set in stone. I think it's like at the discretion of the tournament director, which for expected attendance in girls hockey, often they waive that. I know the boys, they'll do things a little differently because they expect big crowds. But they'd have to get into the top 8 there too. They're right now ninth, so that's interesting. But again, similar to the Beverly girls basketball team, I mean, Gloucester's never been in the tournament, never mind had a home game. So, I mean, how cool would that be if they could get a boys girls doubleheader in the round of 32 and get a big crowd over there for those teams? Like that place would be rocking. And Nick Giannino there could just post up for the day. He wouldn't have to move from his perch there at the top of the crow's nest.
Yeah. They got the pizza and the snacks. I'd be all set.
Yeah.
I've never had a slice of pizza there. You have in the I
No,
was
no,
gonna
I
say,
haven't, but I know they have it. I see people eating it. So
oh, okay. I was gonna say,
yeah,
wow, you've been there like 3 times. You've already tried the pizza?
I'm a regular now.
Well, after a double header, I mean, give him a break. He could have a slice of pizza. Come on.
Yeah, a slice of pizza, some Swedish fish or something, choke it down. You'll be all right.
Yeah, 2 games you gotta fuel up in between. Probably it's a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, not much changing. I mean, we'll see what happens at the end of the year. Everything's kind of cemented and not a lot of movement. And so just with the girls, just sort of getting through it right now. I think everybody's kind of in that lull in the middle of the season and starting to kind of pick up and hope to kind of start picking up steam there as the playoffs approach in what 3 weeks now or 4, 3.5, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I think the last day of the regular season is 3 weeks from tomorrow, which would be Wednesday as we're recording this. So yeah, you're probably looking at the postseason starting in less than 4 weeks.
I'm going to jump in here because I know our listeners will realize that what I'm going to mention, there are better things to be talking about. But Phil, we have Nick here who's not been to a lot of hockey games the last few years. You have been. We're talking about food. So what rink on the North Shore has the best food, would you say, Phil, over your years?
Ooh.
I mean, I know you can't really make a judgment on the 2023-24 season because you've only been to you haven't been to 40 games.
No, I'm gonna. I think for me that's kind of a slam dunk. I think you're looking at JC's Grill and Pizza over at the Essex Sports Center.
Oh,
Outstanding.
okay.
Yeah, really, really good stuff there. I mean, the pizza's excellent. They have salads and wraps, and I've seen people get subs and dinners and all that stuff. I mean, it's like a little restaurant, so it's not really fair to. It's not like a concession stand or something like that. But that food is really good over there. So yes, I enjoy going over there, and especially as Willie could attest to, when we're trying to haul butt to finish say a 6:40 hockey game by a 9 p.m. deadline. They're very kind to us to let us go in there and use their internet to file stories on time.
Well, that also explains that extensive St. John's prep hockey coverage too, I think. Too.
Well, I mean, hey,
it doesn't hurt,
well,
All
that
right.
and the fact they,
And it's well deserved, by the way.
I
Well,
say they've won 12 in a
saying
row,
it
and they're the number one team in the state, so that,
Yeah,
that has something
exactly.
to do with it too. It goes beyond pizza.
Yeah, it's a win. It's a win-win, is what we call
Yes,
it.
it is a win-win. Yes.
And a win with the prep usually as well, knowing their record. And speaking of the prep, let's transition right there to boys hockey. Phil, a Catholic conference title for the prep this year.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't able to go Saturday, so I'll let Matt talk about that game. But yeah, first title in 11 years for St. John's. You know, they've won 12 in a row now since that opening day loss, or opening afternoon loss, I should say, to Hingham. And they really have a lot of close games. They're playing four lines consistently. They're getting really strong defense. AJ Farisi, his goals against is like 1.10 in net. If anything, it's the challenge for them is going to be staying on top of their game as they are right now. You don't want to peak in January, obviously. So, Catholic Conference title in the bank, that's great. Number one team in the state, great. Power rankings, that. They're going to, knowing the coaching staff as I do, they're going to push to keep improving, keep getting better, working on the small things. Not worried so much about, hey, this is great. You guys are spectacular and you've won 12 games. Every day is a new day. Keep working, keep finding things to improve upon, things like that. Elsewhere, let's see. It was interesting. Essex Tech has taken a bit of a tumble lately in terms of wins and losses, but they remain number 6 in the Division III power ranks, even though they're 6-6-1. Why? Because they're playing strong teams, the Winthrops, who they're playing again. They lost 2, but they're playing again. Shawshing Tech, which is highly ranked in Division 4. So while they're not getting the on-ice results they want, they are still getting a strong power ranking there. Gloucester remains up high, even though they're 8-6 now, Nick, I want to say
8-6, and they got a game coming up against North Andover, who's 8-5 and one spot ahead of them in the rankings on Wednesday. So that'll be a good one, and it would be a big win for them.
Yeah, big week for them actually, because Saturday night they go up to Haverhill to play Masco. Masco's 10-4, and they beat Gloucester in Gloucester the first meeting. So I'm sure Gloucester
Right.
love to get some revenge there. It's still Winthrop's league. They remain undefeated. They're playing very, very well. What else? Beverly is now in the top 32. They got into that 32 spot. I've been looking, and I don't know how many people saw this. It wasn't a game we covered. It was in the roundup, which doesn't always, you might not always notice specific games, but you did see that Beverly beat the Lynn Jets last week 16-0, right?
No, I I missed that one. Did you see that one, Willie? 16, my God.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
that's a lot of
that.
goals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
16.
Jets have struggled this year.
They
Only
have.
3
I
of them
mean,
count.
I think the Jets have more middle school players than high school players. And you know what? All the credit in the world to them for continuing to ice a varsity team. And you got to remember, too, this is now with hockey's like every other sport where there's running time once you hit to a certain goal mark. So the time was running the entire third period. Just a tough day for Lynn, and obviously a fortuitous day for Beverly. I've been trying to look up, and I don't have all my resources here at home, but I can't remember the last time a team put up 16 or the last time a team won by 16 goals. I do remember, and I mean, I remember a time a team won by 16 goals. Now I'm dating back, it's probably 25 years ago, but I remember Danvers beating Salem 19-3, and they had shut off the score at Rocket Arena as Danvers kept adding to it. And that was not a pretty scene. But hey, sometimes these things happen. I mean, from what I heard and been told, Beverly was literally playing their fifth line. Wasn't really, trying to do 3-on-1s or anything like that. So hey, whatever, it is what it is. But in any case, Beverly is now in the top 32. 7-6-1. I know they still want to get to 10 wins to get into the tournament. So we'll see what happens there. Danvers has rebounded. They had dropped a couple in a row, but then they come back and they beat Masconomet for the second time this season, and then followed that up with a nice win Saturday night against Swampscott in the annual JJ Rosado Memorial game. So they're back playing well, 7-4-2 now. So that's about it.
I know I'm watching the clock here, so let's just jump quickly to boys basketball, using a term that I know you guys use in the paper, the big game watch. I think in boys hoops tonight, as we speak on Tuesday afternoon, you got Salem hosting Peabody. Looks like a really interesting game there. Salem's coming off a couple of big wins, including their win against Marblehead on Friday night. And then this other game, Nick, that you may want to address is this game on Monday at Manchester Essex in the Cape Ann League, where Newburyport is playing at Manchester Essex. Tip off at 6:30. I guess people are saying they're the top two teams in the Cape Ann League. They're going head to head, and we'll find out just how great either one of these teams are head to head. But this Manchester Essex team, as we've talked about, is the one that beat Peabody earlier this year in a non-league matchup. But that looks to be just a great game, a great matchup on Monday night.
Yeah, well, we can start with the Beverly Peabody game because, and these guys can talk a little more about those two teams. They've seen them more this year than I have, but I think
Salem.
those two. What's that?
Salem.
I'm sorry, Salem and
Playing
Salem
Salem.
and Peabody.
Yeah.
Peabody
Yep,
at
yep,
Salem
Salem.
tonight. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry about that. I just think those two teams have very similar styles, very similar skill sets, right? You got Ralph Laurent and AJ Forte in the backcourt for Peabody. And for Salem, you got the two freshmen there, Jordan Maxson and Elian Rodriguez. For both teams, those are the two players that do the bulk of the scoring and going to have the ball in their hands for most of the game. So I think that backcourt matchup is excellent and should be a fun game. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that before I touch on Manchester.
No, Salem is so quick. I saw them Friday night, just so quick in that backcourt. You mentioned the two freshmen leading the way in the scoring, both with double digits, and they were their two key scorers. They just get after it. Yeah,
they don't seem to be phased at all either. You know, from the time that I saw them, they just I remember Jordan Maxson did not have a great shooting first half. Didn't deter him at all. You know, for a 15-year-old to come out and he just starts, gets the ball, starts shooting and began to hit those shots in the third quarter. That's confidence that comes from knowing, hey, my shot's going to fall. I've practiced this thousands and thousands of times.
Yeah. And he, as we know, he has experience playing at the varsity level already as an 8th grader last year for Salem Academy. And they played some, they played some teams like Salem High last year and some of these teams out of conference. So, he's not a veteran, but he plays like it.
That's Salem. Yeah, go ahead, Mick. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go, please.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that Salem Academy team has played Salem now in a series, and tonight they're playing Marblehead. So they're playing some Northeast Conference foes.
They played Danvers too, haven't they?
Yeah, I think yes, you're right.
They beat Danvers, so they split with Danvers. So and they're in the tournament picture right now, Salem Academy. So some good things happening there still, even without Maxson.
Hey, Nick, just before you get to that Manchester Newburyport game, I think, we touched upon Marblehead at the beginning. So they're now, 7-3, I want to say. Is that right? They got the 2 losses to Salem, both close games there. And then they lose to Peabody Willie early in the season, I want to say.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they started the season, they didn't have a lot of games to start the season. So they're only at the halfway point of their season. They're now looking at, they're 7-3. As of starting tonight, which obviously January 30th, they're going to play, I think it's 10 games in the next 21 days. So they're basically going every other day with games. Now, I don't know if that's the way Coach Giatti set it up or wanted them a little more battle tested in the second half and the grind of what a playoff chase could be, but they're going to see what it's going to be like. And we're going to see, what kind of depth they have. If they can forego, hopefully they don't have any injuries, but what kind of bench they have, if the bigs can continue to get after it. So it'll be interesting. I know they do have quite a few home games in that stretch. That they have a rematch with Peabody at home. They get a game with Masco at home. I think they have I want to say Gloucester at home, Nick. They're hosting the Larry Mack tournament later in the month. So they'll have a lot of games in short order here. It'll be interesting to watch and see how they develop, progress, and handle this next 3-week stretch.
Phil, the other thing on that Peabody Marblehead game that they're trailing in that game, the game that was suspended earlier this year, 13-11 with 3:08 to play in the first quarter. So they're down in that game. So, but I think they could come back. Still 3 quarters to
Excellent
play.
point. Good point. Yeah,
plenty of time. Plenty of time.
I saw the first 5 minutes of that game, and it was really good basketball. It was real. Both both teams playing to each other's, to their strengths, if you will, playing to their strengths, I should say. Marblehead inside, Peabody shooting from the outside or whatever. But so that matchup at home might look a little different than the one that they did not perform as well as they wanted to over in Peabody the next day, as it turned out, as a matter of fact. So, but they're a good team to watch. Marblehead will be an interesting team to watch coming down the stretch for sure. All right, gentlemen.
I can
Speaking
just
of-
touch on the Manchester game real quick.
Yeah, we started there sort of a long
We
time
started
ago.
there. We
Pretty
might as well
close to
give them
there.
the
Yeah,
the
let's
due. I
wrap it
mean,
up. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hornets at 13-0. They're just coming off another couple blowout wins. I mean, they've been destroying most of the conference all season. And Newburyport, yeah, it's going to be a huge test. I mean, this is a game they've had marked on their calendar for a while. Newburyport's 12-2 overall. Again, the Hornets are 13-0, and I think that's going to be a great matchup. And to get off to move off Willie's point earlier with the positionless basketball, you do see that quite more often in both the boys and the girls high school hoop. But for Manchester Essex, they got a traditional big in Eddie Reyes, and he's really been a huge difference maker for them.
How
6
big is
foot
he, Nick?
six. What's that?
6'6". He's 6'6".
Yeah, 6'6". I'd say he's got to be at least 225. I mean, he's a strong kid. He had 7 blocks in their recent win over Hamilton Wenham. He just kind of patrols that painted area, and he's doing a lot of a better job, getting up and contesting shots without fouling now. I think he said he used to try and just go up for the big swats, but he's so much bigger and taller than anyone, and he can jump high, that he really just has to get 2 hands up, and he's gonna, block a lot of shots or alter a lot of shots. So he's the guy that could be a difference maker in that one against Newburyport. I haven't seen the Clippers yet. I'm not sure what kind of size they have, but I imagine nobody matches up against Haraeus like that. So that'll be a fun one. 13-0 again for the Hornets, looking to go undefeated. They got 7 left. They got Newburyport. They're going to have Burke coming up soon, another good team in their bracket. Randolph to close out the season. So kind of like Marblehead, they've scheduled some tough opponents here down the stretch to prepare themselves for the upcoming tournament. And then just quickly, Bill, I wanted to shout out Rockport, because the Rockport boys got the 10th win last night, officially qualified for the state tournament in Division 5, first time in 10 years. So congratulations to Phil Whitley and that program. I've seen them play three or four times this year, and very impressed with that group. They got some real hoopers, and they play hard, and they play good defense. And when they get down, they don't get down on themselves, and they've been able to battle back and get back in some of these games. So 10-5 for Rockport. They're sitting at number 14 in the Division 5 power rankings, and they are locked in. They got themselves a spot. So good stuff.
Flying Wetleys.
Yeah.
But I think, Nick, aren't they playing Manchester Essex on Thursday night? I think that's their next matchup. Yeah, that'll
They
be
are.
tough.
They are.
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
lost
there you go.
by about 30 the first time, which a
Yeah,
lot of teams.
no.
I mean, Peabody lost by 30 to them, so it's not crazy to hear that. But I think they'll give them their best punch, and
No, I get it.
maybe
Yeah.
give them a better game the second time.
No, congrats to Phil Whitley and the team. They've done a great job this year, and it's been a work in progress for the last few years growing that team. So nice job.
Absolutely.
So congrats to them. All right, gentlemen, we have a couple minutes left. Is there anything you want to look ahead to at all to give our listeners a heads up? We've done a little heads up on the boys basketball. Anything else to share with us looking ahead? A note?
I know we
anything?
have the Northeastern Conference Swim Championships taking place this week. The boys are at the Sterling Center in Beverly tonight, Tuesday night, and then the girls follow up on Thursday night. Swimming is a little bit tough for us in terms of like when a lot of the meets are and our deadlines for both of our papers, but we do try to get the results in whenever they're sent to us, and we certainly wish both the boys and the girls teams good luck in their respective championships this week.
Can I just ask? I'm throwing this out coldly, unprepared here. Gymnastics; those things are also coming to. Those meets got to be peaking here soon in gymnastics, high school gymnastics, right?
Yeah, we need to figure out when Masconomet and Danvers face off against one another because they've been the two
They
best
did.
teams in the area. They did. Okay. Well, there you
Oh,
go.
okay. Perfect.
Masco took care of that. That was a try meet actually on a weekend. So the score got a little confused because it was a try meet. But yeah, it was a high. I mean, they were both over 140 as they averaged, so I'm sure they'll both be there at the end.
Nice.
Well,
All
they
right.
finished 1-2 in the state last year, right?
Perfect.
Something I don't remember the specifics. They both made the finals. I know, like I think Central Catholic was in there, but I can't remember if I'm thinking of the final score or the seeding score. But they were, excellent, obviously.
Yeah.
Masco edged them out there on the last rotation or Central two to win both the North and the state. And tremendous performances. I mean, obviously, since Danvers hitched up with Linfield there, they've gained some really tremendous club gymnasts, and really are scoring just some really really high scores. I mean, again, like when you're in the 140s consistently, you're tremendous, and that's what they've been, most of the season here.
Well,
Well, I
I'm
want
looking
to
at,
go ahead, Bill.
well, we're really out of time. If you got, can you do in 15 seconds, Phil?
Well, I was just going to say thanks to the gymnastics coaches who always shout out to us, Beverly, Peabody, Essex Tech. Thank you for reporting your scores all the time.
Perfect. Yeah. So next week we'll be coming to you live from Las Vegas for the Super Bowl coverage here on the Salem News, Gloucester Times, whatever sports podcast here, or not. Maybe we'll see. But we'll talk about that and other things coming up next week. Gentlemen, great seeing you, and we will talk again soon.